What's going on, you guys? I'm Grits, Warzone's most winning player. In today's video, we're just going to be going over the patch notes that happened on July 1st and letting you know my thoughts on them. The first thing we have is the Beavis and Butthead event. Now, what's really cool about this is I believe even in the free section, you get enough to where you feel like you got something. I believe you get 2 operators, you get a SVD full auto kit, and a bunch of other things. Now, if you pay for the 1100 CP, you get Beavis and Butthead, 2 weapon camos that are actually really nice, and you get an execution and you do get an emote. That's a lot for 1100 CP. I believe this is the best event as far as rewards go that we've had. The one good thing about the Beavis and Butt skin is 1/3 of their head is not actually a hitbox. So if you shoot the hair, it goes right through it. And the one downside with that though is these operators are very easy to see. And if you're trying to hold a heady, your hair sticking out, even though you think you're behind cover, they can sit there and follow your hair. And as soon as you pop out, they can just fry you. So it's one of those where it's like some good, some bad. So for the train, they did make some big updates. You have the UAV tower and the buy station that are now on the train. The UAV tower, I know the buy station's kind of cool, right? It's going to add a lot more regainability for landing somewhere and getting your team back. The UAV tower, you can pretty much keep this up the entire time. And the one downside with the train has always been information. A team coming up, sneaking up on you. Now that you have this UAV tower that you can keep up with the whole time because you're doing recon for money, you're not going to be able to get sneaked up on anymore. So the UAV tower is quite interesting. I believe that it is a completely 100% viable win strategy for Verdansk now. Before, it was kind of a coin toss if your team was just going to get pinched by multiple teams on that train. Now, I believe it has so much more viability. It's definitely worth looking at. You have the new limited time mode, which is Havoc, 44 players, 15 matches. They have some unique items in the buy station for the event. You have special modifiers and like charge jumps and other movement things you can do on this mode. It has rising gas, so it's more vertical. Resurgence casual mode, I have been seeing on Twitter, a lot of people have been really hyping this up. Even some sweats, they go in here and they play this and they're having fun. So I can see Resurgence casual actually doing really well. We'll see how this affects the longevity of the game. It looks like this is going to be more of the case going down the road, where they're going to be taking away a little bit more core modes and we're going to be playing a lot more casual. It just seems to be what they do on games where the player base is starting to dwindle. With the introduction of just so many casual modes and so many core modes and these LTMs, and now we have 2 ranked modes, it just splits up the player base that we have into all of these smaller sections. So it definitely does make it feel like the player base is a lot smaller than it is, but that's because we have 20 buckets that we're splitting people up and letting them play. I mean, for God's sakes, how many casual modes do we have? Casual Resurgence, casual quads, casual solos, plunder, boot camp, and now you have LTMs, which I would consider like Havoc would be, in my opinion, kind of like a casual mode, right? It's a little bit more, there's no SBMM and it's just to have fun. They are returning Resurgent ranked. The playlist is right here. It's good that they kept casual solos without having to get rid of BR solos. I know a lot of people would be upset about that, so it's good that they kept the BR solos. Ranked competitive Resurgence competitive mode. Trios, 45 players, Rebirth Island. Team-based SR. And yeah, so basically looks like the same system outside of a couple things. They adjusted the numbers. So you get placement up to 150 points and you do get SR per kill. And if they're a higher rank than you, you get more SR from killing them. These are your buy-in fees. Death penalties removed from ranked or Resurgence. So before, when you died, you were given a penalty of a certain amount of SR you lost each time you died. Now you don't have that anymore. And I believe that could be in benefit of these boosters, these 6 9-man teams, because they can just sit there and repeatedly kill each other without any penalties now. So I'm curious to see how that hurts or helps the boosting situation. Restrictions, shared with the, okay, so the same restrictions is BR, buy stations, same, public events, the same, all other public events are disabled, so there's no jailbreak. Shared rewards, so BR and Resurgence have the same rewards, so if you wanted to get top 250 in both modes, you're going to get the same rewards. There's no individual rewards for each mode. They do have your elimination sticker camo weapon blueprint being tracked in Resurgence. It's the restrict, okay. Okay, so for restrictions, the contracts, they did restrict search and destroy, so you won't see that on the map. They also restricted gas nades, neuromines, and shock charges. Lethal equipment, impact nades. That's going to upset a lot of sweats, but impact nades are now restricted. They, in my opinion, were always like super OP, and that's pretty much the only lethal that people use. Sometimes you have people use mines like towards the end of the game when you're playing positional, but yeah, impact nades just really dominated the meta. They updated the ground floor loot. I've noticed this the last couple days. I do see that there's a lot less snipers and pistols on the ground, and it's a lot more ARs and SMGs. This is a good change. It did add to BR a care package kill streak. So the old care package used to work a similar way, right? Where you have like a self-res, a chance at a satchel, ammo, and armor boxes. However, the one big change is before you used to have a chance at getting a buy station. Well, they removed that and they added a chance at specialists. So now there is no buy station, but you do have a chance to get specialists. I think that's a good change. Too many buy stations on the map made things a little weird at the end of the game. One thing I'm glad to see back is the bunker buster. This is one of my favorite kill streaks because you can use this in a pretty smart way at the end of certain games or in certain situations while you're trying to clear out a building. One thing people don't really use correct with it is they like put it on the corner of a building. That's not the best way to use it. If there's a way for you to hit like a satellite dish at the top of a building that's a little bit more center, you want to put it on that way it drives through the middle of the building and the gas spreads out through the middle of it. Also hits more people. So keep that in mind when you use your bunker busters, but I'm definitely glad to see this kill streak back. Resurgence, plunder, these are the lootable perks inside of those. Okay, so for contract adjustments, most wanted does not spawn at the beginning of the game anymore. So if you're used to landing in on a most wanted, that's not going to be an option anymore. They now spawn on zone 2. Contract reveal timings, so these are when those contracts will stop being revealed. So as the game progresses, they need to keep adding contracts because after zone 1 there would be no contracts. Zone 2, all contracts spawn. Zone 3 will be the last time you see bomb, plant, and supply run spawn. Zone 4 will be the last time these 3 contracts will spawn in. So if you're hoping for a supply run on circle 4, don't expect it anymore. They stop spawning after zone 3. That's what that means. Yep, we already talked about that. Perks, okay, so they did add loot master and it says resurgence plunder only. That is true except for specialists. Specialists in BR still has loot master, so when you open up a crate you have a chance at more kill streaks, gas mask, field upgrades, things like that. I noticed pretty much you have this, you can find gas mask pretty reliably inside of crates with the loot master perk. Now, why is that interesting? When you're looking at playing a gas play at the end of the game, if you run off in the gas with specialists and open a bunch of crates, if you can keep finding gas masks, that just improves the amount of time you can spend in the gas. So it's going to be pretty interesting to see if that ever becomes a problem. All right, so for tracker, they did massively nerf this. Now, I don't think it's like not usable anymore. However, I think it's a lot more balanced, and I believe it's still really good. So they reduced the number of targets you can mark down from 5 to 1. You used to be able to mark a whole team. If you were able to spray in there, and then they would stay marked for as long as 7.5 seconds. That's ridiculous. So I believe this is a good change. You can only mark 1 target at a time. And then they decreased the range from almost 4 seconds to 1 second in the close range. Mid-range from 5 to 1, which is good. And then long range 7.5 to 3, which I believe is a fair balance. We'll see how this affects the perk, but I believe it's going to be completely viable still. Grenadier equipment is now deployed faster. Health regen is reduced from 5 to 3 seconds. So I don't believe these changes are going to be like game changing. However, anything that makes the game feel faster and smoother, I'm for. And I believe maybe 5 was a little bit too much. Maybe 3 is a little bit better spot. So I'm okay with these changes. I'm glad to see some loves and some changes coming to perks, because anything that makes the game feel a little bit different and changes the meta a little bit, I'm definitely for that. Restock, I didn't really see this as being OP, but they nerfed it by 10 seconds, making it so you regen equipment every 1 minute now. Scavenger did get nerfed. It decreased the amount of money you get per person you loot by 500, down from 15 to 1,000. Not a fan of this change. There's not a lot of ways to get money unless you're doing contracts, and this just makes it even worse. Reflexes, so I guess they noticed when you get to the top of Ascender you needed that extra 0.1 seconds. I don't see this being like game changing. However, it may save you in some scenarios, but if you get to the top of Ascender, you basically want to move right away. If you sit there, it's going to blow up on you. New weapons, you got the Olympia Special, which is this weapon here. I haven't tried it yet, but it's a double barrel shotgun, very high damage with respectable range. We will be giving that a shot at some point. I do believe it's going to be one of those weapons that's just not going to be very good. Pickaxe, it's just another melee weapon. SVD Full Auto is going to be an attachment that you can unlock for free in the Beavis and Butthead reward. I have heard people tried this and the recoil is a little too much, so don't expect too much out of this off rip, and we may never, right? So it's interesting that they're giving us these attachments again. I do like that. However, I don't know what the point is if they're just going to be bad anyways. So it does give you another option if you wanted to try the SVD Full Auto. It's there. The TR2 Full Auto Conversion Kit, this is also going to be part of an event down the road. It's not available yet. It's going to be the COD Tunes event reward. So when this does actually happen, this is going to be interesting because the TR2 is already good. So if it does make it just a little bit better, this gun will be meta, but it's always going to come down to that recoil. Gulag loadouts, they did improve the amount of attachments you get on your pistol. You get the optic, you get the compensator, and the extended mag. I believe this is a very good change. Default loadouts, they did some changes for default loadouts if you ever do grab those. Now for weapon adjustments, I'm not going to go over all of these because they pretty much did the same changes for all the attachments on all weapons, right? So rapid fire, the recoil penalty has been reduced across all weapons, and you can go through and read these yourself, but all the weapons on all the attachments got some love. It's going to make things feel faster, it's going to make things feel smoother, and the recoil is going to feel better. And that's just going to be across the board on all of these weapons. We will stop when we see like specific changes like we do to the Krig. Right down here. You see that they nerfed the damage range. Now, this nerf isn't going to be enough to make it like not the best AR. I still believe the Krixie is the best AR that you can use right now, but it does kind of bring it down a little bit. So once you get in that damage range where it moves from max damage to like your medium damage range, you're going to notice maybe you didn't kill him as quick in all the circumstances that you're used to. However, it's still a really good gun. Got the Model L, XM4, MCW. Interesting change here. It looks like it's a buff at first. You have the damage range increase, you have the mid damage range increase with the damage increase. However, they did nerf the multipliers for the body, so we'll have to see how that affects the weapon. I know that it's usually used as a sniper support, so green arrows in the 2 first sections is very important. We'll see how that plays out. The STG did get a really big buff, a really big buff. 28 damage per bullet to 39 is a pretty big change, and it affects it at all damage ranges too. They also reduced the gun kick and the visual recoil. However, I still believe the visual recoil is too much on this weapon. I tried it because I killed a guy and picked up his STG. It still felt pretty bouncy. However, his build could have been ass. So we're gonna go in and try it ourselves down the road. M13 got a similar buff. All the damage increase at all the damage range. You also got the range increase. However, they did nerf the multiplier significantly. So this could just end up being a wash, and we'll have to give it a shot. The Jack Harbinger kit got buffed on the M4. The M13C got buffs, but they decreased the multipliers. But in a lot of these situations, they also made it so it feels more snappy with your sprint to fire speed, your aim down sight speed, all being increased. So it made the gun feel a little bit more fluid. However, these multipliers, they do affect the gun quite significantly. This is a pretty big buff in bullet velocity for the gun. However, you're using that close damage range, so it'll make it feel a little bit more. Okay, so it gives it better hit range. That's basically how I would sum it up, is you feel like you have better hit range. Same thing with all the SMGs. All the attachments got buffed, making them feel smoother, better. The first one we're going to see a buff on is the striker, with the increase in the damage range. So we'll see, because they did increase the multipliers here. Like all the other weapons, you saw damage buff, but with multipliers decrease. This is the opposite. They gave you multiplier increases with a damage range buff. So we'll see how that affects the striker. It's something I may try down the road. Same with the Bass P. This used to be one of the best SMGs back in the day, back on Almaz. A lot of fun. So it'd be cool if we could actually use this again and to be viable. But then again, like I said, the lower torso leg multipliers being decreased by this much, I don't know if it's even going to be worth even trying. So we'll see. Lockman Shroud, Vaznev. Okay, so I did try this Vaznev. This Vaznev felt really good compared to where it was before. Am I saying it's S tier? Not yet, but I'm going to say that they buffed it to the point to where I believe it is in the range of viability. So if you're looking to switch it up, use the Vaznev. It's 100% back. You can use it without it costing you a game. So it's definitely a fun gun to use. And come on, who doesn't love the Vaznev? The Vel 46, another weapon I did try. This gun felt really good, and I was slamming kids with it yesterday. So if you're looking to switch something up and use the Vel, it's there. It's good. So completely viable, another option for you to use. We got the shotguns. The SG is just still crap. So is the Maelstrom. The Marines, interesting. But what I see here is the Reclaimer. I am going to try this hopefully today. One thing with shotgun is the damage range. So them increasing the damage range on the shotgun makes me wonder how consistent it's going to feel, because the Reclaimer was one of my favorite shotguns during Urzikstan. A lot of fun. AV broadside, I don't really see that being a big change. LMG adjustments, all Black Ops 6 LMG flinch resistance improved by 15%. So that's the overall buff for LMGs. And again, all the attachments being buffed across the board. All right, so the Bruin Titan kit. I believe this is the one that was actually meta, the Titan kit. So we'll see how this plays in effect. Maximum damage range increase. So damage range increase, multipliers increase, improved. So this will be an interesting test. I would be curious to see how this plays out. So we'll maybe give that one a look too down the road. Marksman rifle adjustments. More attachments being improved across the board. All the way across. Yep, Tarkov, MCW. So it looks like the conversion kit got some changes here as well. Overall buffs, increase. This gun was actually borderline meta back in the day, but it's again one of the old weapons, so it's not going to feel as good. AR mod. all these. Yeah. Okay, so no HDR nerf. I don't think they're ever going to nerf it. People just love it too much. These are all just the attachments. Cat AMR bullet velocity increased. That's actually super important. Sniper's bullet velocity, and this also one shots at any range. And the ADS is improved. Those were like the two weaknesses with it. It's very interesting to see. Okay, so the Moors does have a one-shot capability with the charged barrel and the anti-material rounds. So you know, if you have the charged barrel and the anti-material rounds, it's a one-shot at any range. So these damage ranges being affected only apply for the non-charged barrel. Okay, improving the damage ranges for the old sniper rifles. Maximum damage range, infinite. That's a one-shot sniper now. All right, pistol, same thing with the attachments, the special adjustments. They increased the amount of ammo for the nail gun. Yay. Helicopter icon, quality of life. Okay, if you guys didn't know, if you were in a helicopter in solos at the end game and you look up, like if you just weren't seen on the mini map. So if you were in a heli flying max altitude at the end of the game, they may be able to hear you, but when they look at the mini map, you're not on there. So this is a great change because a lot of these people just ignored the helicopter because they didn't see it on the mini map. Advanced splash settings, quality of life. Okay, so settings, interface, HUD, edit splash notifications. So this is like the banner that says enemy PA incoming, all that. You can adjust where you want to see it, whether it's on the right or in the center or off. You can even turn it off. I don't recommend that. So they did fix a lot of bugs. Anything of note here? Weapon attachments were missing, pros and cons or descriptions, not a big deal. Striker burst mod attachment did not update weapon HUD next to Black Cell daily challenge, not a big deal. So it doesn't look like anything that was like a massive bug. It's a lot of like camo rewards, attachments not working properly. All right, guys, that was my thoughts on the season 4 reloaded patch notes. There's some big changes in here, but my absolute hope is that we don't have to wait 6 to 8 weeks for these kind of changes. I'm not asking for this big of a patch every week. However, I would love to see more weekly posts, more weekly updates for weapons, specifically the bottom tier weapons, constantly getting love to bring them closer to those meta weapons. All right, you guys, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and I will see you guys tomorrow.